Call this regular school committee meeting, Fitchburg Public Schools, December 5th, 2022. Dr. Knight, would you lead us in a salute to the flag, please?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There is no need for executive session. Call to order. We've already done that. School committee members and student reports. School committee chair, I have nothing to report at this time. Resource committee.
Resource Committee, we just had a short meeting, and the notes the other day, and the notes are not complete yet, but I will just mention a couple of things. We did vote to hire a few more people for the building department. And on resource, we're going to hear tonight from Mr. Craig Antossi, where we voted to vote yes for his proposal, which he will make tonight. That was it for resource.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, school building needs.
That was just, I was very short. The director gave an update on what was taking place in the system. Yeah, that was about it, but his notes will be ready for next meeting.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, policy committee.
Nothing new to report. We have the two policies before us tonight, or excuse me, the one policy for its second reading. Other than that, nothing to report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Horgan. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, student support committee. Dr. Knight.
All I would like to say tonight is that we want to do the best we can because our students deserve the best. Nothing else to report, sir.
Thank you. School Personnel Committee. Mr. Stevens will provide the evaluation of superintendent for the years 2021 to 22. Mr. Stevens.
I want to thank the school committee for getting their reports to me so that I was able to get them tabulated today and get them finished with the help of Ms. Mary Alexander, our school secretary who helps the school committee. For the evaluation for the superintendent under Standard 1, instructional leadership, on a 5-point scale, we gave the superintendent a instructional leadership of 4.25. Standard 2, management and operation, we gave the superintendent an evaluation of 4.22. On standard on family and community engagement, we give the superintendent an evaluation of 3.90. On professional culture, we gave the superintendent an evaluation of 4.15, for a total evaluation of 4.14 on a scale of 5.0.
Questions, comments, concerns? Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Executive Committee? Nothing to report at this time. Student representatives.
On Tuesday, December 6th, the National Honor Society induction ceremony will take place in the auditorium at Fitchburg High from 6 to 8 p.m. to induct the new members. Also, I have a major concern regarding students who are enrolled in the AP Statistics class. There are 2 classes for AP Stats, and I conducted research on the grades of students for quarter 1. About 22.6% of the students had A's, which accounts for 7 people. About 32.9% of students had B's, which account for 11 people. About 3.2% of students had a D+, which accounts for 1 person. And about 49.1% of students had C's, which accounts for 13 people. This is a concerning issue because these students know they aren't doing well in that class, and assessments are 40% of their overall grade, resulting in a dramatic drop of their overall grade. For instance, a student currently had an A in AP Stats and took an assessment where the result was 70%. Now their overall grade is a C because of a single assessment. About 17.1% of students believe that the 40% positively impacts their grade, while 82.9% of the students, including some who have A's, believe that the 40% negatively impacts their grade. This is a large percentage of students and something to be concerned about. At the school committee meeting on November 7th, Dr. Knight had asked if there were funds for tutoring, especially those in the Honors Academy, and the answer was yes. About 65% of students enrolled in AP Stats are part of the Honors Academy. AP Stats students are concerned about their grades dropping lower than a C for the next quarter and are determined to do better in that class. They understand and know that C's are considered as average and are okay grades, but why should they be content with that grade when there's always room for improvement and the potential to succeed? We would like for some of the funds to go towards tutoring at Fitchburg High so that all students who are taking AP classes have the opportunity to succeed. My intention is not only to advocate for myself, but for all AP students who will benefit from extra tutoring. That is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Student Advisory Council met. Dr. Knight, do you have a question for Tia? I'm sorry.
Do you have a question?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So, Tia, there is no tutoring after school or before school or during lunch provided for these students in the academy that are taking the AP Stat class?
Recently, I heard from, according to my principal, Ms. Jarrett, that there will be tutoring soon, sometime next week. It will officially start.
So next week?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Mr. Gallo.
Okay, so our Student Advisory Council meeting met Friday, and as a school committee rep, I kind of have to speak for what they said. So our meeting, Ms. Jarrett was out sick, so she was not there, so I'm kind of informing her about this as well. We discussed a number of things. One, we discussed the considerable improvements to traffic and bathrooms made at our school. Many of the, pretty much every bathroom has been open every day this week. So that's a considerable degree of improvement since about a month and a half ago. They've all been very clean as well. And there's pretty much been no disciplinary issues that I've experienced in the bathrooms at Fitchburg High. Additionally, we discussed the implementation of senior privilege, which was planned to sort of come around at this time of year for seniors who have been academically excellent throughout their 4 years of school. They can leave early if they have a free period or come late if they have a free period. And this has been something that has been at Fitchburg High School for a very long time. Another thing is the band played downtown yesterday. I was not there, unfortunately. I was doing some things with my family, but I was there last year, and I assume it was very good, if it was anything like last year. There was the play on Friday and Saturday, which was excellent. It was a really great school play. I was honestly shocked that they did it. It was very good, and I'm very sorry if any of you missed it. Hopefully the next one will be equally as good. Today, there was one sort of minor crisis at Fitchburg High School, and that was that the fire alarm was pulled. We had a fire drill in the morning, which was just sort of a run-of-the-mill scheduled fire drill, and then somebody pulled the fire alarm during lunch block today. We were outside for a little while. In the cold, it was a little bit unpleasant, but we all ended up getting back in school without a hitch, back in class, and the schedule was adjusted.
Mr. Gallo, is that your source on someone pulling the alarm? Because my information was it was a faulty alarm.
Was it a faulty alarm?
The second one.
Second one?
Yep.
Okay, so the first one, somebody pulled it, you think? I wouldn't be surprised.
I assume, no, the first one, I believe, so it must have been a faulty alarm then if it happened twice in the day.
Okay.
Just the word on the street seemed to be, there was a text message sent out to a number of students and teachers that there was a fire alarm pulled today. I assumed that to be an official text message. Again, there's been a much greater system of communication going on at Fitchburg High School ever since the original sort of gun threat earlier this year. So winter sports have also started. The first basketball game is next week, and indoor track has started as well. And Thanksgiving went excellently. We won the can drive. We lost the football game. 1-1 with Leominster right now.
Darren, our MCOS scores are better, too, I would bet.
Okay, that's good.
Might get something in there, come on.
Yes.
Right. That's it?
That's it. That's it.
Questions from the committee? Yes.
I don't really have a question, but I want to say what good news it is that you're bringing about the bathrooms, the problems ceasing. And
Yeah.
anyway, I just am really happy to hear that.
One last one.
Yes, Dr. Knight.
Mr. Gallo, with the missing bodies employed at the high school, do we have proper supervision at these laboratories so that everything can be safe for the students at the school?
Yes, some teachers have volunteered their time for it.
Okay.
I thank them very much for it because it's really been a great environment, like lately.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, approval of the minutes from the previous school committee of November 21st, 2022.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made,
Second.
seconded to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed is unanimous. Thank you. Communications. Anyone wishing to make a communication of any kind? If not, moving on to public comment. Anyone wishing to make a public comment? Confined to 5 minutes in length. Please come forward. Ms. Cragen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sally Cragen. We live on Oak Hill Road in Fitchburg. A couple of things. First is that members of Fitchburg Public Schools are gathering toys, gift cards, items such as clothing and apparel for kids pre-K to grade 12 for Christmas presents. And Luisa Fernandez is coordinating this with Chief Suarez over at the fire department. Items may be dropped off at the fire department, 33 North Street, through December 12th. Is that correct, Luisa? Okay, that's good. So I also have a communication, and this is really a general letter, both to Fitchburg School Committee as well as to the FEA and the public. So I am here as a parent of a Fitchburg Public School graduate, a future Red Raider at the high school, as the daughter of a graduate of Fitchburg High School, and a former member of Fitchburg School Committee, having served 2008 through 2021. I was dismayed and saddened to read the recent letter from FEA. I can only describe this document as a string of unproven allegations. The accusation, a vote of no confidence in our superintendent based upon false information, is deeply unsubstantiated and worrying. Please do not get me wrong. I hold our teachers in very high regard and have literally worked with dozens of teachers and hundreds of students during the thousands of hours of volunteer therapy pet work that myself and the Be Positive organization has done in our schools since 2014. I feel as plugged in as any community member can be. So, yes, teachers have been stressed out during and post-COVID. Yes, students have had a tough time too, really tough. But what I've observed firsthand are the efforts all our teaching and administrative staff have done to collaborate and continue the community of public education. You only get community from strong, dedicated leadership and a great team. I read the accusations and the reasoned, measured, detailed, and substantiated response from the superintendent, and I can come to no conclusion as to why would the FEA put forward these unkind and untrue allegations, especially during the Christmas season. This is a time when we need to put our best foot forward and focus all our attention on the most important members of our community, who are our students. They will experience disruption in their studies and school life later this month. So I am here in support of the superintendent's response. I'm leaving copies of my comments on the table, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cragen. Anyone else wishing to make a public comment, please?
Jacqueline Wetchie, Fitchburg resident, speaking on agenda item number 3, superintendent evaluation. The superintendent's performance is subpar, and he should not be reappointed for the following reasons. Number 1, he has not been straightforward about learning in the district. He portrayed the fact that fewer of our schools are now under state supervision as some great victory. Other districts that locked down longer and harder than us experienced greater learning loss, so they fell into the bottom percentage-wise, but we also moved backwards. At a subsequent school committee meeting, one of the principals stated that we have not made up for the pandemic learning loss. Mr. Hughes thanked him for his candor, and I thank him also. It is important to be honest about the challenges facing us. Number 2, he wastes taxpayer money on consultants. Our education dollars should be going for teachers, paraprofessionals, and others who provide direct services to students, not a bunch of consultants. For example, he hired a consultant to oversee selection of the high school principal, then went with the person already in the system who he knew and liked. This was a waste of money. Another example, he hired consultants to go over the racial / ethnic disparities between school employees and the student body. Everyone knows there is a disparity. You don't need a consultant to tell you this. They said advertise additional places to get more minorities in the candidate pool. Common sense would tell you if you're not getting the type of candidates you want, advertise somewhere else. You don't need to hire a consultant to tell you this. Number 3, although he has no medical background, he repeatedly requested that the Board of Health impose COVID restrictions on students. The stated threat was that if people don't go along with these measures, he will take away in-person learning again. It's wrong to hold children's education hostage to a biomedical agenda. Among other things, he advocated for forcing children to get a vaccine, then under emergency use authorization, if they wanted to participate in extracurricular activities. This is the vaccine that 98% of American parents have rejected for the latest age group eligible for it. He also spoke in favor of extending the mask mandate, which fortunately you overruled him on. He tried his usual scare tactics, predicting a spike in COVID cases after February break if the mandate was lifted, but no such spike occurred. He was wrong, and the ordinary people in the city were right. His views are out of touch with community sentiment and the facts. Number 4, one of the school values is vulnerability, which includes admitting when you were wrong, apologizing, and promising to not repeat the same mistakes. But when I asked him to apologize for his failed COVID policies, his response was to block me on Twitter. Guess what? You can't block me from speaking here. Some time back, I attended a school policy committee meeting. It was enlightening to see the elected committee members at one end of the table, a diverse group representing our city, and on another side of the table, a row of appointed school bureaucrats, all male, all white. Rather than pay consultants to tell us our schools need to be more diverse, I suggest that the superintendent resign and make way for someone outside the good old boys club. I have an excellent candidate in mind. She has classroom experience, including in the Fitchburg Public Schools. She has an advanced degree. She resides in the city. She gives back to the community, serving in 2 volunteer roles, School Committee and Human Rights Commission. She isn't afraid to roll up her sleeves and tackle issues head-on, such as bathrooms at the high school. Although she typically wears both a mask and face shield, she does not impose her views on others and voted to lift the school mask mandate. She has shown a willingness to challenge prevailing orthodoxies and advocate for a school administration that is more representative of our population. She is multilingual and multicultural. I am, of course, speaking about Dr. Knight. Instead of picking people who follow the same old pipeline, why not think outside the box? If she's not interested, other good choices would be Dr. Meade Montague, a manager in the Worcester Public Schools, Principal Josephine Robertson, also with the WPS, and Dr. Beverly Hollingsworth at Fitchburg State. All individuals my family of educators know and respect. A change would do the city good.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to make a public comment? Yes.
My name is Jean LaBelle Pierce. I live at 264 Tibbet Circle. I'm here tonight as a parent of a senior at the high school, also as a former member of the body that you all are part of, and as somebody who, as a teacher in another district, I feel like I kind of wear a lot of hats in this game of education. And, well, it's not a game, right? It's really the most important thing that we do as a society. And there's nothing easy about the field of education right now. I had some ideas of what I was going to say, and now I'm going to edit it a little bit because a lot of the things that I just heard were decisions that were made by a body of people based on as much knowledge and care and expertise that we could muster in our society. We've all lived through a really difficult time. Our children have paid a price for it. Our teachers have paid a price for it. And you guys have paid a price for it. We've all really had to try to muddle our way through one of the worst times I think education has had to really kind of grope with. So I'm here tonight because I read the letter as well, and as a teacher, I'll just say all these concerns, they're real, right? Like, and we need to address them. But I also have been in your position, and I have had many conversations with Superintendent Jokela, and I understand him to be very thoughtful, very reasonable, somebody who really has a genuine interest in Fitchburg excelling and getting back. Learning loss has happened everywhere. I mean, everywhere. All you have to do is read from the highest performing districts to the lowest performing districts. And the things that we're experiencing, we're not alone. A lot of people are experiencing them. All I would say is, as a parent in this district, please do your best to communicate, right? To be as transparent as possible, to sit down with, and I know, because I've been on that other side, and I know you're sitting down, I know you're having these conversations, but obviously we have to, you have to try to figure out another approach too, because it's just too important. And anyway, I did want to be here and just say, Superintendent Jokela, I know you're one of the hardest working people in the city, and I think a lot of people out on the street are some of the hardest working people too. So I just give you my support, and I really hope that we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to make a public comment? Seeing none, I will. What I'm about to read to you is the school improvement plans that the school committee has been apprised of over the last few sessions. I'm going to do this quickly because there's a lot on here. Fitchburg High School, school accountability increased from the 19th percentile in 21 to 16th percentile in 22. Annual dropout rate decreased from 1.2 to 0.6. English language learners' scores on Math MCAS increased 17%. Utilization at Goodrich Academy, utilization resource to our return out of district students. Continue to increase the number of total Goodrich Academy graduates. Longsdale Middle School, math school student growth percentile increased to 37, a plus 15% increase. English language arts school student growth percentile increased from 41.3, a plus 18%. Memorial Middle School overall accountability ranking increased from the 5th percentile to the 20th. Crocker Elementary, writing scores were above the state average in grades 3 and 4. Increase in the percentage of students scoring meeting and exceeding on Math MCAS from 28% to 39%. McKay Elementary, McKay's accountability level increased from 4% to 5%. Rheingold Elementary School accountability status increased from 26% in 2019 to 43% in 2022. Math MCAS, 3rd and 4th grade, 11% to 30%, 9% to 30% students meeting and exceeding the standards. Created a collaborative culture at the South Street Elementary School with new kindergarten teams and preschool teams. Let me alert you to the opinion page of the Sentinel, October 6, 2022. Let's recognize urban school strides as seen in Fitchburg. This is the superintendent recognizing his staff, who many of them are here this evening. When I started as superintendent, my goal was to make Fitchburg Public Schools the best urban district in the state. We remain committed to that goal. I am thankful to the Fitchburg's team's commitment to our students all growing and achieving. With continued family and community support, We will serve and support all our students with excellence in order to help them reach their full potential, and there's more. I urge you to read this article. This is referring to Boston schools, some of the premier institutions in the state, and we're right up there with them. You've done an outstanding job, Bob. Couldn't be happier with your performance. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Seeing none.
I just want to say
Go ahead, Peter.
thank you, Mr. Mayor, for reading that. And I support the superintendent wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just wanted to say, I don't want to leave here, I don't want anybody from the FEA leaving here feeling like we are adversaries with each other. We're still on a team. We still have a duty and a responsibility to the students in the city of Fitchburg. And so my hope moving forward is that we will continue to collaborate and put forth our best efforts to help our students get to the desired goal that we all want them to achieve. And I think the only way to do that is to acknowledge we all have work to do. We all have work to do. Teachers, administration, parents, the city, we all have work to do. Until we acknowledge that and stop pointing fingers, then we can start to move the needle a little bit. And I think we're starting to do that, but I think we need to dig in a little bit more and continue to make that happen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Anyone else wishing to comment? Seeing none, moving on the agenda, Superintendent's report. Mr. Jobela.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I get to the superintendent's report, I just want to say a few words because clearly it's been a hot topic over the last couple of weeks. So I'd just like to, first of all, thank the school committee members for taking the time to complete the evaluation and the comments. But really, I want to thank all the staff who actually made the improvement in our schools over the last 5 years possible. This is not a one-person district. This district employs over about 900 people in various roles, capacities, whether you're a paraprofessional, teacher, custodian, clerical, a principal, an assistant principal, special education administrator. Although the bus drivers aren't ours, they all play a critical role in helping our students get to school every day. Clearly, the last 3 years have been a challenge with COVID and as we emerge from COVID. And I'd like to think we all tried to give as much grace as possible to each other, and as we emerge into this next phase, whatever it is, I am proud of the work that our staff has done in terms of having comparatively much better outcomes than some of our urban peers, and frankly, even some of our neighboring peers, which we shared at last week's, at the last school committee meeting. So that work is done by teachers. Some of them may be outside tonight, but they're in our classrooms every day giving it their best, as Dr. Knight has repeated several times at school committee. So I know that our staff are coming to work every day, giving it their best, and trying to make Fitchburg the place where parents want to send their children and where staff wants to work. So again, I just want that to be crystal clear that the success that we've had, and again, I just happen to be the only person evaluated publicly by the school committee, but I would really share those commendations and the positive comments with everybody, because it is a team effort here in Fitchburg.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Now, going into your report,
So we have two presentations tonight, and I don't know who's set up first here. If the family engagement, Mrs. Kelly and Mrs. Fernandez are ready, I can see looks like their laptop with the stickers, so they get first dibs.
Can we project from here? We can project from here.
Should be able to.
So thanks for having us. Louisa and I are really excited to be here tonight and share with you some great things that are going on in the district to support our families and our students. And we have some not live videos, we have some videos, some testimonials from people also working with us, our collaborators and community partners. I can start talking. Do you want me to start talking?
We were hoping you'd do that.
All right, so as I said, we have a lot of wonderful things going on to support our families and students. The first thing we were going to talk to you about is first, I'm Eva Kelly, ESL Director and Director of Family Engagement, and this is Luisa Fernandez, our Community Engagement Liaison. We wanted to talk to you first about our adult ESL classes, which I think all of you know about. We just completed our 7th session, and they are 9 weeks long. We enrolled 100 people this time, and we have 31 people on our wait list for next time. So we're really excited about that. We just gave out certificates last week. Mr. Joklo was there to welcome families. And we have a great video. So I'm going to keep talking, and then we'll go back to the video. So our 2 teachers this year were, this session were Norma Senior and Mr. Bruce Collins. They are greatly valued and loved by their students and staff. It was a great session. We have a new session starting on January 16th. The next thing I was going to talk to you about was our collaborator and partner, City United Church. They donated 138 Thanksgiving baskets to our families, and we gave them out in literally 21 minutes out in front of South Street School, in front of the central office complex. We collaborated with them this year by collecting some canned goods at the central office, and they were able to do additional baskets. They also donated $15 gift cards to Market Basket so the families could receive some turkeys or whatever other main course they wanted. I'm so disappointed. These videos are great. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So I also wanted to tell you about the Fitchburg Art Museum. As you know, we've been collaborating with them for a number of years. Through funding they received from the Cathedral Fund, we have been working with them. We created the Fitchburg Families First, which we ran several drive-by donations last year and over the past 2 years, and we're getting ready to start our next rotation of those, 2 in December, 1 in January, February, and March. So we're very excited about that. We also, through the Cathedral Fund funding, received $25,000 to provide beds for students who don't have beds and are currently housing insecure, sleeping on the floor.
Just doesn't want to communicate right now.
So that's through an organization called Sleep in Heavenly Peace, led by Mr. Chris Alphin, who has graciously worked with us for a number of years, again, to provide beds. And just in the last month, we provided 25 students with beds, and they provide the bed frame, the mattress, the bedding, and a stuffed animal and pillows for the students. It's really heartwarming, and I really apologize for the glitch in technology. You also have our newest resource guide sitting in front of you. We just revised it, and we've combined the English and Spanish into one book this time, so we didn't have to print 2. We're excited to get additional copies and start distributing them. We've sent some to City Hall, and we'll send more as soon as we get more copies. Yes.
It's available online as well.
It is available online. There's a link, a hot link right from our website, and we are looking at making some changes to our web pages to link the community resource guide and supports for our families in a broader sense throughout the website, so we're working on that now. So.
And in the back there is a QR code that you can use to scan, and it's
And
going to take you to the...
it'll bring you right to the guide online.
Wow.
So, and you can link right to the organizations from there, right?
Is that what that's for?
Yes, try it. Try it right now.
And it has like a brief description of the organization's phone number, address, email.
And what they provide for service.
It's very easy to navigate.
Yeah. Questions?
This is really terrific. This thing is, wow. Talk about comprehensive.
Yeah.
Got everything in there.
So we use some funding from our McKinney-Vento funds.
Good, yeah.
For our families that are homeless and insecure, some Title I funding. Yep.
Yeah,
And
good
we
job.
update it all the time, the information
Yeah.
on our website.
So the live information is always updated, but we print it once a year. Yeah.
Terrific, nice job. Thank
You
you.
guys have any questions? Oh, this is heartbreaking for us because we worked so hard on this.
If you want to try emailing it to me, I can try to see if it will work.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions? Or Louisa, did you want to say anything?
Well, you know, yes, I get nervous. So I just want to say that this couldn't be possible without the support of our superintendent and the entire team. And I trust you, all of you. And let's keep working very hard. I can see the parents, you know, come to us. They feel confident, like coming and telling us what they need. And I think we see that reflect in our events because we are having more and more people joining our, you know, fun nights in the schools. So let's keep working.
Good.
That's what we have to do and focus on. I'm gonna
Nice
try
job.
to.
Any more questions? Yeah.
Anybody else wanting to ask
Oh,
any
gosh.
questions?
Can we
Oh,
just
there
show
it
you
is.
some videos? They're
that's not
so good.
As soon as I
oh, no,
receive
this
it.
is Craig's.
Did you email that to me?
This is not ours. Darn it. All right. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to.
You can come back to next. You can come back to next meeting, Eva. You can come back to the next meeting and show us. Okay.
No,
All
you're
right.
gonna see it tonight.
All right. Okay. All right.
We work very hard.
Try the QR code, too. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very
you.
much,
Thank
Eva.
Okay, then.
Now, Antasi.
Okay, so next up we have Mr. Craig Antasi, our athletic director, here to talk about a competitive equity multiplier, which I'll say doesn't sound very athletic-y, but you're going to explain what it actually is.
Athletic-y.
Right?
Sure. If you project it, I will gladly talk about it.
There we go.
John has it all set.
Thank you. All right, so it doesn't sound very athletic-y. Absolutely not. Competitive equity multiplier. And Bob asked me to come and share this out because I'll tell you, I won't bury the lead. I'll tell you straight from the beginning of this presentation, this was just adopted at the state level. It's taken the better part of the last 3 years to change mindsets, which has been an adaptive goal. It's one thing to show people information. It's another people to accept that information and then change how they think about a process. So this has been adopted for the next alignment cycle with the MIAA, which will directly impact not only our students here in Fitchburg, but students across the state, and in fact, students in some of the most vulnerable districts in the state, okay? So there's a couple foundational beliefs here. This is, frankly, I know that this administration talks about equity a lot, right? And equity deals with access to fair play in the case of athletics and fair competition. Enrollment, which is how we measure schools. Generally, when Fitchburg goes to compete against a school, we have roughly 1,250 for an enrollment, so we're placed against other schools of similar size. Later on in this, I'm going to show you what those schools look like. Algonquin and Westboro are two that are very close to us. Enrollment by itself is not a fair metric if you go back for a second. It's not fair, which means it's not equitable. Not every student is the same. Not every person in front of me is the same. To literally reduce you to a number is discounting so many factors that directly impact our lives. Okay, so that's a foundational belief. Previously, the MIAA they understood that this was a problem, right? Not every student's the same, so for vocational schools, they gave them relief in the state alignments. Notice, Monty Tech will never play Fitchburg High School in a state tournament game. Not going to happen. Well, not until the next year in 2023, 2024, due to a lot of the work that I put out there. Now, they used to get a 2-divisional relief, even though school size, they're actually bigger than Fitchburg High School. They have more students than Fitchburg High School, but they competed 2 divisions below. Private schools would all get bumped up 1. Why? Well, private schools, again, public schools kind of have to cook with whatever's in the kitchen. Private schools can go out and shop for their own groceries, so to speak, to use a Bill Belichick word, right? So private schools, sometimes it might be all one gender, whether it be Notre Dame of Hingham or Notre Dame Academy of Worcester, all girls, or St. John's, St. Bernard's is a co-ed. So it varies, but privates are a different thing altogether. And urbans, they never knew how to treat it. For a while, there was the urban multiplier. We're just going to reduce your enrollment by a third, right? And then hopefully that works for everybody. For me, that never worked. My background is in science. I like to know the answer. I don't accept subjective points of view. Like, I really want to know where the objective truth lies, and if I can get to it, that's what I want to go to. So that's a foundational belief. Again, we talk about equality sometimes. Equality is sameness. Not everybody is the same, right? We'll kind of go, I won't belabor this point, John, so we'll go to the next one. Equity is about fairness, right? And equity is about making sure everybody gains access to the same opportunities. In order to address equity, right, you have to address the circumstances and barriers that might be impacting those people in front of you, okay? We're not all equal, but we deserve a fair shot at what's going on. The next image here, or two slides, yes, this one right here, I think visually demonstrates what I was talking about. This one's probably made its rounds. On the left is equality, right? Not all of those people are the same, so everybody gets the equal access. Here, we'll all give you a crate. But all we've done is further elevate the person who had the best look at the field while not addressing in any fair way people's access to view the game. If we talk about equity, now everybody's getting what they need to create a fair situation so everyone can access things the same. These are the foundational beliefs behind this work that was taken on. And I say I, but it's really myself, the athletic director from Chicopee, Sean Mackin, as well as a host of other athletic directors from urban schools around the state that came together through the MIA Urban Athletic Directors Group. And we started working on this when everyone went home for COVID. And it was like, oh my God, the world's going to end. This actually provided an opportunity to dig into the numbers in a way that I just don't have enough time in my day otherwise. Okay? So, if we move on, two definitions, and I promise I'm going to keep this very short and I'll answer any question that you want afterwards, but I just wanted to get these two definitions out of the way. The multiplier, or the modifier, is based off of really two numbers that DESE tracks. Every school in the state is reporting through their SIMS data to DESE, and everybody, right, that is objectable fact, right? If you are lying on that, you're probably shooting yourself in the foot or cutting off your nose in some way. So everybody is putting the truth out there. Up until I said, hey, I want to reference that data, the MIA was only collecting data by having athletic directors enter it into a Google form. I could have told you anything. I could have told you however many students I wanted to, and if I was within reason, 5% of that number, no one's going to call me on it. I said right from the jump, that's not good. We don't need that subjectivity. Let's go to objective. You can pull that enrollment down anytime. October 1st, every year, just pull it down. You don't even have to ask an athletic director like me to think. Just pull it. And at the same time, you can also pull the high needs percentage for every school and the mobility rate for every school. The high needs percentage and the mobility rate address that picture of the people on boxes. High needs percentage is something that directly impacts this community. If you read, the high needs percentage is calculated based on the number of high needs students divided by the enrollment. Obvious percentage. But a student is classified as high needs if he or she is designated as either low income, right? That would be prior to 2015, and economically disadvantaged thereafter. Ever in ELL or currently in ELL. We have a lot of those students in our district. A former ELL is a student who is not currently in ELL but had been at some point in the previous 2 academic years. And I believe the high needs percentage also includes students with disabilities, but I don't have it in that definition. Mobility rate. The mobility rate is really tracked across 3 factors, but the highlighted line at the bottom is what I want to call your attention to, and that's the stability rate of a school. Fitchburg High School, in the year that the data I show you, tripping over my words here, in the data that I'll show you on a following slide, Fitchburg High School had a stability percentage of about 87%. That means for every 100 students that started the school year at Fitchburg High School, 87 finished the year. 13 have moved on to another school. If you carry that forward through a 4-year alignment cycle like the MIA used to have, that's better than half of the student population turning over. Okay? For reference, there are schools we compete against that are like 99% stable. Okay, that's 1 student out of every 100 every year. Makes a big difference when you're talking about how students access their education or access their extracurricular activities. So if we move on. For reference, I've placed some comparative schools up here. This data has been normalized to last June, the last time I pulled this for the state. If you can see, Fitchburg High School, our stability percentage is about 92.7% right now. Some of that has to do with our, really, the impacts of COVID-19, right? Students a little less moving around, data may be a little bit difficult to track. Our high needs percentage is 75.8%. That means 3 out of every 4 students walking the halls of Fitchburg High School has literally been identified as a high needs student. The state finds that so significant that they track it, because that means those students are going to be impacted accessing education. So from an athletic standpoint, if it's going to impact their access to their education, then it's probably going to impact their access to an extracurricular activity. For comparison, the state average in high needs, which is up some, it was 37.8% in 2018-2019, is about 56.8% calculated, right? We're trending almost 20 points higher than that right now. For comparison, look, Leominster High School is right on the state average, but look at Wachusett Regional High School, a couple towns over, 25%. Like I said, 3 out of every 4 of our students are designated as high needs. 1 out of every 4 students at Wachusett Regional are designated as high needs. And you can get the comparison as you look down there. I even threw Monty Tech in there as well as St. Bernard's. Notice you can't track a private school. There's no data they report. No idea what's going on in their student population. And Monty Tech, 47.5%. Seems high. Still, almost 10% less than the state average. And I'm going to throw the little plug in here because I'm a parent in the city of Fitchburg. Does that look like our public schools? So, this is just for reference. Now, what I'll say is, this has been such a difficult mindset shift. You're asking schools around the state who are benefiting from the way that it has been done. If you're a big school, you're in Division I, and Fitchburg, you got 1,200 students, you've got to play us. Asking those schools to say, you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe what's going on in your school is a little different than mine, and maybe that is not equitable, has been difficult. But I'll tell you, I presented this a number of times, not in this format, because I'm really trying to race through it to give you the picture. But over time, you can't argue with the facts. Those schools are not the same. When we reduce the enrollment of Fitchburg High School, which is the key point here, notice our certified enrollment is 1,241 students as of June 1st of last year. We immediately take and remove the unstable enrollment from the schools because they're transient. That means they moved out. How could they meaningfully access extracurriculars if they're not going to be around for the full year? Maybe in one season, but definitely not for all 3. And after we take that stable enrollment, we have put a modifier on it based upon the deviation from the state average of the high needs percentage, and it falls in thresholds. If you're within 10 points, 10 percentage points of the state average, you get a 10% reduction. If you're within 15 points, you get a 15% reduction, and it tiers up. If you are within 5 points, even above, you get no reduction, and anything below the state average gets no reduction. And we can see how that plays out up on the screen. Look at our rival. Look at the size of the schools. Our rival has almost 2/3 as many students as us. It's a massive enrollment difference.
That's because of CET.
Massive. It is because of CT. You're absolutely right, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
But that bears out on every playing field that you see us play. And if you go down, let your eyes just move up and down that list. We've got high needs percentages in the 20%, and stability's up over 95. We don't look like those schools. This is not unique to Fitchburg. This is Lowell. This is New Bedford. This is Lawrence. This is Holyoke. This is Springfield. What we've pushed through at the state is making a difference. In the last cycle, we were able to appeal and actually move down, but now it's going to become the fundamental baseline by which the state now creates an equitable access for cities like ours to move into state tournament play. And you've seen it firsthand. Our boys soccer team, which Mr. Gallo was a member of, has qualified 2 years in a row, right? Boys soccer, fantastic. Field hockey qualified because of a better placement. Boys volleyball, boys ice hockey, right? This means things to our kids, and without doing this stuff, it would impact kids across the state. So Superintendent Jokela asked me to come in and share this because it's the quiet work that gets done. If you're not looking in the papers, you wouldn't see it, but it really has made a difference. And just football is a case study because I know this is a football town. 2 pie graphs. 1, 2018, 2019. See the big red part? Those were all the teams that fell below the state average, and it was 38.7% high needs. So that meant all of the teams that qualified for the states, the semifinals, because that was before the new state tournament came in, the final 4, 3 out of every 4 of those teams came from a district that had a high needs percentage of less than, again, I'll round up, 4 out of every 10 kids in the school. For reference, we have, if I round up, 8 out of every 10 kids in the school right now. You can see the little smaller yellowish orange, 8.8%, round up 1 out of every 10 kids in the school, and then the privates we can't constitute, right? So, one more, and I might have just, stability percentage. Again, most of the people there, very, very stable. The less stable schools barely had access. We've already seen those numbers improve, and we'll continue to see them improve. I'll come back in a year and I'll show you the new data. It's making an impact. So Superintendent Jokela asked me to share, so I did.
Nice.
I probably went too long.
No.
Questions? Yeah, James.
So is this in place now, or will this start the next?
This is in place right now. It's impacting schools across the state. It will become the baseline of all. So to back up, it was, schools could access it via appeal in the last cycle. Now, schools don't have to even appeal. It becomes the baseline for all divisional alignments in 23-24.
So my second question is, part of it, the adjusted figure that you showed earlier, you started out at, I think, 12 something, and then we're down to 920.
Yeah.
That's the total number of boys and girls in the high school.
That's correct.
So if in a school it's 60% girls and 40% boys, the boys, they don't just figure out the enrollment for boys in determining fielding a team and competing in a division. It's just based on the total enrollment of the school. Is that correct?
Depends on the sport,
okay,
right? But no, more often than not, it is just the size of the school.
Yes, Ms. Reynolds.
You mentioned several sports that did well, the field hockey, soccer, whatever. Had they already been changed? Did they have a different criteria?
So,
am I clear?
At the state level, the field hockey and the soccer team they actually accessed the state tournament without getting relief. Where they got relief was at the local level because I started it here. Right, I had to change, or I say it's really terrible, but like I live in my body and I was vocal about it, right? And then other people have really helped and aided this. But the first task was we are in a league school of 20, we're a member school in a league of 26 schools. We are the only urban school outside of Gardner, if you want to call Gardner an urban school, right? So I had to go in that room and basically say, hey, this is kind of unfair. You can imagine how that went over the first time I said it. It wasn't positive. But it took 7-8 months, and we were able to actually move some of our teams into better competitive situations for them. So,
what division are you? Are you speaking of divisions now? Football, baseball, basketball?
It gets really complicated when we
That's
talk
okay.
divisions
That's
and
okay.
leagues.
That's okay.
But yes, no, our teams have already started to access it, but I won't have to ask anymore, where in the last cycle I had to ask. I had to basically go in front of a room like this and say, please help, which isn't fair, right? It should just be a situation where we all start from the same spot, and that's coming forward.
Okay. Yes.
I just love the little picture there, the equality and equity, that really show the difference when things were equitable versus equality. It really shows how it can make a difference.
I can say, as a former teacher in the Wachusett Regional School District, Fitchburg Public Schools strives to make the picture on the right happen every single day. I've had 3 children, 2 graduate from Fitchburg Public Schools, and I have 1 who's in the 6th grade. There's a reason why they went to the school here, and my youngest is still here.
Yes.
I have a problem with that thing. Perhaps you can help me.
Sure.
It looks like, from the back, and I'm just going to guess, I'm going to say that on the left, the blue shirt, and I don't know, I might make him 15 or 16 years old. The next person looks like a...
No, he's balding.
I'm sorry. Well, yeah, I know actually, after I'm saying he's a man. I mean, older man, you're right. And then maybe, I don't know, a middle school, and then a baby. So what are you saying about equity with all these different ages and different...
I just think it was convenient to put different ages up there, because if we put like little adult people of different sizes, it might get more confusing.
Yeah, let's not go there.
No.
But I just think what that's showing is, obviously you've got a fence and you can't see over it, right? And just because one person has a height advantage, they shouldn't be able to be the only person who sees over it, right?
But there's different things that you're speaking of. Okay.
I just want to add that the side with the equity is showing that this is something that was done with intention so that it can work.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Hughes.
Please explain to me why we have to piggyback equity to make a point. You know what I mean? Oh, let's bring out the needy people. I'm totally confused as to why every single time we have to go before an organization to make change or to get people to understand, you got to bring equity first, because it's not fair. It's not fair. And I'm looking at this picture, and I'm really appalled. You got 3 little black people up there, right? So you're telling me the message that we're sending, right? And help me understand this.
Sure.
The message that we're sending, I want us to be very careful about this, right? So now we go before these people and we're putting our information out there, and we're saying it's not fair because Fitchburg has a bunch of minority kids and it's not fair, we can't compete. Am I, you know what I mean? This doesn't seem, it seems like we're trying to get in, but this is the only way we can get the attention to drop us down so we can be fair.
I think it's more, and I'm happy to answer that question. One, this image was just grabbed. Like, I can't say that I made it. I guess I could have photoshopped it.
I'm not saying you made it, Craig.
I know, Tom. But what I will address is this. I can say the sports that are the most impacted by this work are actually female sports. In sports like soccer, like Frank plays over there, the club model for sports is so strong that if you do not have a family of means that is accessing club soccer early on in your career, you just are not playing at the level of competition required to honestly be very successful at these bigger schools. The most impacted are our female populations, and this is statewide. So the equity multiplier actually is making a huge impact in rural districts. So not just urban districts, but really rural districts. Western Mass has found has had a really positive impact in their local communities by applying this. Because I understand, like, we don't want to trot out, I guess it's not a matter of race, it's more a matter of the access to opportunity that is limited based upon your individual circumstance. In Westboro is nothing like us, but Westboro has a very large population of Indians. And truly, I mean, like, from the subcontinent of India. And they do not access certain, let's call them traditional American sports in the same way that we do here. They just don't. But how do you capture that in a number? How do you capture that demographic, how that's on the ground, what is happening there? And I'll admit, it's imperfect. The one thing that I found that impacts all schools that I honestly, in front of panels like this that people could accept, was that high needs captures most of that. The students with disabilities, the economically disadvantaged, right? Because in the case of a club model, if you don't have thousands of dollars, you're just not going to play club soccer. If you don't have a parent that's going to drive you all around the state or up and down the eastern seaboard, you're just not going to play it, you know? So, like, I want to validate what you're saying, Tom, because I think it's true. But, like, at the same time, sometimes, like, sometimes the truth is, like, hard.
Yeah. But again, I'm having a huge problem with the only way the organization will listen to you guys is this way. That's the vehicle, right?
I think
it's a sad case to ride the back of disadvantaged people to promote. You know what I mean? Why not say our kids cannot compete? It has nothing to do with equity. We just don't have the ability. We're not there. So we need to drop down the vision. But the only way you could get their attention is say it's equity. We got poor kids who can't afford to play soccer, who can't afford to go. That's the only way you'll be heard. That's really strange to me. It's really strange.
Yeah, well, it was one of those things. I mean, like, we could wake up in the morning and it can be raining, and we can say, crap, it's raining again today. Or we can apply science to try to forecast, like, why it rained or how it's going to rain or if it's going to rain in the future. And that might be an imperfect metaphor, but, like, we're just looking for data points that are going to help us predict, like, a better future for all kids. I can tell you, I don't know if this is perfect, but it's better than it was, and it gives us the opportunity to make it even better. And I can tell you the one thing that we've input, or I've been pushing for, is now we're collecting power rankings data in athletics, another metric, just like test scores. When you feed that into the model, it will only make it stronger.
One last point, and I promise you I'm done.
Yeah.
For years, Fitchburg was at the top. There was districts. I remember going to see Fitchburg play Milford. Fitchburg played Mob, all these teams. Let me finish. And there was not one word about equity. Not one. Like, oh, we got to make it equity. But now, when we can't seem to recruit these kids and get these kids to come back to Fitchburg based upon a strong district and strong support, now all of a sudden this becomes equity. That's the point I wanted to make. You know what I mean? Because I remember going to the games, thousands of people. Basketball, couldn't even get in. Football, couldn't even, I mean, but now that we can't compete physically, it's an equity issue.
I think, if you permit me to respond, because my head is always in the data. And the one thing I'll tell you is, if you plot 20 years of demographic data, whatever the past is that you remember, or anyone else in this room or outside, we don't live in that past anymore. In fact, we live in a present that is so different. In the year 2000, the football team here went undefeated. I'll quote you the demographic data. We were almost 60% white, right? We were a shade over 20% Hispanic. And then, right, there were nominal percentages after that I can't remember off the top of my head. But I can tell you today, that number has flipped. It's literally flipped on its head. We're almost 60% Hispanic and 20% white. Now, I'm not saying that one does better at football than the other, but what I am saying is as much as we want to celebrate and we want to remember the way that it was, I'm in the position, as are many people in this room, to have to try to, like, man, look at the data as it comes in right now, unbiased, and say, what is happening? And, like, sometimes those truths are really confronting. They just are. But, like, I would, all of the work that was done at the state level was not done. It was not done to make excuses. It was done intentionally to try to unravel a multivariate problem. There's so many variables that play into kids' lives. But in order for all of our kids to have the best opportunity to access academic success, and in my case, just athletic success, I have to be willing to confront the hard truths, to try to get to the reasons that are there. And that's what I can say. And it's okay if people don't agree with me. It really is. And like Tom, I respect every word that came out of your mouth, please. But I've been doing this now for 3 years, and I'll keep doing it because sometimes these conversations are important, because without them, sometimes we don't talk about them. We don't talk about these topics in a way that's constructive, right? But this is the point behind that modifier. The point behind the modifier is it's meant to be objective. I want to remove all subjectivity. I said it in my Hall of Fame speech, like, the past is only accessed in the collective rememberings from the minds of the people that were there. No one of us can access the past fully, right? So, like, if we can, in this present moment, respect the past, but, like, look at all the information that's available right now in real time, then maybe we can get better outcomes in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
very briefly, because I know this has
Yes.
been...
Mr. Horgan.
There's a lot of context around this. I really appreciate Mr. Hughes' questions. I understand the place where they're coming from. I really appreciate your answers. I thought they were very thoughtful, and I thought that was right on. I think there's another context that's not just with Fitchburg, but outside Fitchburg and statewide, from educational resources to athletics. There is a design to make the best better, that in hand in hand, right? It makes the worst worse. So I think there's been a huge economic swing in Fitchburg since those times of our athletic glory days that kind of correlate to where we are in resources now. That represents in our populations, right? And in these other districts that are extremely affluent, they have all these different resources. They have all these club teams for all their various athletics. That creates a set of skills and a set of competitiveness that is just not with the other towns that represent working class communities that aren't transferred to these private club teams with elite athletes. I think that's a hard context to appreciate just looking at it with numbers, but I think you did a great job. I really think that picture with the 3 individuals, it's not about their race, it's not about their height or who gets what blocks, it's not about baseball. It's just meant to be an illustration to prove a principle that if you're trying to change someone that's put at a disadvantage and you give everyone the same leg up, it's not really an intentional change to create fairness. And I think that's the biggest, and we didn't have the word equity or a lot of this vocabulary to talk about, in the 50s or in 2000 or whatever, until now, really, until recently. So I think, this is a really constructive conversation. I think a lot of the language that we're using is frankly quite new. I think this is a really constructive conversation. Thank you so much, Greg. You did great.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Yes.
Could I add something, Mayor?
Yes.
So, talked to Craig a lot about this over the last few years, and one of the things and I had a lot of questions as well, and one of the things that he produced with his team of the urban athletic directors was a list of recent state champions. So just going through the fall, winter, spring season, they compiled a list of state champions by sport, and they used the data points that Craig talked about tonight. They used high needs, they used stability rate as examples. So I'm just going to share the 2020 fall state champions. I won't list the school name or the community, but I'll just do the high needs percentage, because I think Craig's example showed high needs as a major factor in the discussions that are going on at the MIAA, the Mass Interscholastic Athletic Association. So starting with girls soccer to boys soccer to football, the high needs percentage of the state champs in 2020 in the fall season only. What was the average? 47% that year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Of the state, across the state, the average high needs for a school in Massachusetts, 47.9. So these are the state champs. So a private school, 17.9, 33.5, 38.3, 22.1, 23.2, 26.7, 15.7, a private school, 24.1, which you can't, we don't have the data for, 74.5, 24.1, 28.4, 28.4, 33.9, another private school, 20.6, 21.3, 31.1, 24.3, 22.1, 17.5, and 24.5. So that's all the divisions for all the fall sports. So that's field hockey, the two soccers, football, and I think there's one other in there. And the only reason I use that as an example is because when we were having conversations around this, there's principals associations, there's superintendents associations. These conversations were happening at all of those levels. And I think when you hear that and you see these are your state champions in an entire list of sports, the high needs percentage is dramatically lower than even the state average. So I think it's a factor, like Craig said, around confronting information that is available to us now with the data that we have to try to say, how can we provide an outstanding experience for kids across the state, not just in Fitchburg. Across the state is the conversation I know the athletic directors are having. So I felt that was something to share as it did complement the data that he provided tonight. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much, and thank you for speaking up a couple of years ago.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
you're welcome. Well,
I think the one thing it does do, it makes teams more competitive, and I think for a team to be competitive, to be in a game, every game, makes their morale be much higher as opposed to going against a team, even though they have the same student population, but the needs are different, and you end up not winning a game and losing by a lot. I think it makes a big difference to the morale of all the players on all those teams. So thanks again, Craig.
absolutely. Thank you for having me, and I'm sorry if I went too long.
Not at all.
No, thank you.
Mr. Roach, do you want to do the budget items, or you want me?
Yeah, sure. So we have two items tonight for grant and donation. So we have a grant to accept. Excited about the grant that has come through for $1 million, and I think it's item on the agenda. It is item 22-215.
Right.
And it is the IVAC, Improving Ventilation and Air Quality in Schools Fund Code 209, grant for $1,246,248, and that will address inequitable school facility needs and repairs for improved ventilation and indoor air quality to support healthy learning environments. And then we also had a donation to accept. That's number 22-216. In the estimated value of $2,500, it's a 65-inch TouchView interactive Ultra Series panel with a mobile cart, and that is being donated as a gift from the Ockers Company.
Quick question, relevant to the first grant. We bought a bunch of ventilators at the beginning of last school year. Did we lease them or did we buy them?
We purchased, you mean the room air purifiers?
Correct.
Yeah, we purchased.
Carrier, those are purchased.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we still utilizing them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is more for this
These
grant?
funds would actually replace a lot of unit vents that are in the school buildings,
Right.
namely Rheingold Memorial, South Street, but we would address really any of the HVAC concerns that we have in a number of schools to update, systems that in some cases have been, many years ready for an improvement.
Yeah. I think this is one issue that once pandemic hit, this was something that got brought up a lot as kind of a central issue. And, definitely, we had a short-term remedy to that, and this is more of a long-term remedy to that. Just want to recognize this is an issue that got really brought to our awareness once the pandemic started, and it's great to see us addressing that through this grant money. So great. No other questions.
Then tonight we have just the second reading of the bus transportation and safety policy that I think ended up getting bundled in the last meeting for approval. So,
Okay, now, so we're going into action items? Is there a wish from the committee to bundle those action items?
Make a motion to bundle action items 22-215 through 22-217.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to bundle 22-215
Comment
up
on the
through
motion?
and including.
Comment on the motion.
Yes,
Sorry,
go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman.
Yep.
This policy, 5410.03, the bus transportation policy, is that before us? Is that in the packet tonight?
You know what? I don't see it in the packet. It was included in the last packet.
That's right. It was included in the last
It
one.
was, well, it ended up getting bundled.
We tabled it, didn't we?
Well, there was conversation of it being tabled during the meeting, but then when the vote actually happened, it got bundled in and passed as
For the
the
first
first
reading.
reading. Yeah. So.
Okay. There's no complaints from the committee. I'm fine with that, but I just wanted to address
good.
that.
Thank you.
All right.
So we all said, was a motion made,
That was seconded.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It is unanimous.
Now we need a
Make a motion to approve the bundle.
second.
Motion made to approve the bundle and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It is unanimous. Next, executive session. There is no need at this time.
Motion for adjournment.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.